Hey everybody! Whoa, it's crazy seeing you here. Are you interested in making something great that will help support life in your local environment with just random stuff laying around the house, but you also don't want to do a lot of work doing it? Oh boy, do I ever have the product for you. It's called a really lazy birdhouse. One issue with a lot of DIY videos out there is they're fairly intricate and they require a lot of recycled materials or just materials in general that you probably don't have laying around. Well, here I'm going to give you all the tools you need to make a functional birdhouse to help support the environment. A little craft of ours, well, all you're going to need is something along the lines of an empty and clean milk carton. You can also use some form of plastic jug if you'd like. You're going to need that. You're going to need maybe some recycled string you find laying around your house, something fairly sturdy because this is going to be used to support your birdhouse. And well, you're going to need a pair of scissors, some sort of knife to make your incisions. And what else you need? The outdoors and a bird. Specifically, since I want you to build on your ecological literacy too, maybe learn something, try and pick a specific bird. Today, we're going to be doing the house wren. So what's our first step in building this birdhouse for the house wren? Well, if any bird you're choosing, first step is to look into that actual bird. Cool thing about the house wren is, first of all, it's native, so it's something I do want to support in my backyard. Second of all, it's really, really tiny. So if I want to make a home specifically for my cute little house wren, means I'm going to cut a really small hole. How small, in fact? Well, using the power of the internet, I have figured it out. I only need a hole about 1 inch and 1/8 long. So I'm going to draw that out and I'm going to cut it with my sandy dandy scissors here. Golly gee, would you look at that? What we've done is cut ourselves a very tiny hole. Now, the house wren's a really, really small, cute little songbird. Partly the reason I chose this bird is because it's a great way of warding away those bigger birds that you may not want to support around your local environment, like the house sparrow. House sparrows are invasive to North America. I don't want them around here. Guess what? This hole's too small for them. If you're looking for, say, a larger bird to house, such as a blue jay, just be aware it's going to be a bit more difficult to work with house sparrows. I will get to how to deal with that very soon. What's our next step here? Well, great thing about the house wren is doing your own research online. We actually figure out that guy doesn't really reproduce until around August. That's when it's going to be housing its young. So we are building a birdhouse design for the summer. And what's the one big thing you want to be careful of creating a house in the summer? Well, making sure you don't roast your birds to death. It's not very nice. So our next idea here and what we're going to be doing is creating tiny little holes around our beautiful carton here for ventilation and aeration to get that hot juice right out of there. Whoa, you sure now? That's crazy. Editing, eh? Wow. So what we've done here is we've added our little ventilation holes. These are not only important for maybe just general breathing, but as we talked about, this is a summer birdhouse. So we are making sure our birds are not overheating. Some species of birds do have their young much earlier when there are still actual cold winter conditions. With that, you're going to want to work with something thicker material with more insulation. That could be spare wood around the house or some other DIY make craft stuff. You'll be able to figure it out. Like I said though, egg carton works great for our summer goal. And so what I've done is put little 1/4 inch holes right above on each side of our beautiful birdhouse here, as our hole right here is down here, heat rises. So it's good to have the holes up there. Another thing that's really important to add to your nice little birdhouse, since it's assuming the actual house itself is going to be outside, is drainage holes. Wowee. You know what those do? They let water out. Guess what? We don't want our birds to overheat, nor do we want them to drown. Generally, that's frowned upon. What's our next goal here? Well, we are looking to put our actual string on our beautiful and very basic birdhouse. Yeah. And so here we have finally attached our beautiful reused string that I've just kind of had laying around the house. And that's kind of the big theme with our DIY is it's really simple and it just uses basic recycled materials. The string you do find laying around the house, I mean, you can purchase your own fancy string if you like, but you want to make sure it has some form of structural integrity. This is, of course, going to be outside, and it's going to experience some wear and tear weather-wise. But here we have our final product in terms of a birdhouse using just a simple milk carton and some string. Big thing here we have to remember is this is built specifically for our house wren. My hole is small to accommodate it. It's actually the hole too. Depending on what bird you want to look into how far it should be above the base of your birdhouse. Same thing with dimensions. Turns out a bird that can enter that small of a hole doesn't need a whole lot of space, so a cartridge like this does absolutely fantastic. Another thing with house wrens is you don't actually need to add any sort of filler inside. They'll do it for you, and a lot of other birds will too. One great substitute to use, though, if you do need some form of filler, sawdust works really well. Sometimes just paper fillings can do really well, but you have to be kind of careful with mold. But our final step after installing our beautiful string here is to take this gorgeous birdhouse outside, preferably about 10 feet-ish high, and hang it. And you just want to make sure that the entrance to your birdhouse is facing away from the most exposed part of the environment to give them some form of shelter. One big thing, you don't necessarily need to use a milk carton. There's a ton of different materials you can use. Plastic bottles work well. Big thing though, remember, summer. We don't want them overheating to death. So if you have any sort of transparent plastic you're using, you're going to want to make sure to paint over it. If you don't want your birdhouse looking ridiculously ugly, I also recommend painting over it. I just really like milk, so I'm very okay with seeing this out my window every single day. One other really important thing, well, why don't we just go over a summary of the cool things we've done with our very basic DIY. We have looked into the specific bird we like and have cut a hole 3 inches above for that specific bird. Oh, it's about 4-ish inches. So it can fit in and doesn't face competition from other bird species. It is local. Remember, you want to support a local native bird species. We have cut holes for ventilation because we looked into our bird species and we know it's going to be having them babies up in the summer. So we have ventilation to make sure it doesn't overheat. We have holes at the bottom we've cut. It's been about 1/4 inch so water can drain out. And we have cut holes so it can actually hang somewhere. Another thing, just a final pop-off bird fact here. You don't want to install little porches or little hangings right around the hole, which is great if you're really lazy. That's less work, because it allows mean birds like house sparrows, which are Satan's little creations, to hang right around there and bully our cute baby little house wren. We don't want that, do we? But yeah, that kind of gives you the end product of our beautiful birdhouse. And stay tuned for future DIY products from my new product line. Yeah, see ya.